In the plains, I dedicated my first building to the local fishermen. I branched off from the large lake with a river leading to a small pond and repurposed one of the original village houses for the fishermen to live in. I kept things really simple for these designs, with the plains being our most true to vanilla transformation on the whole island. There'll be plenty of crazy builds elsewhere. I added a couple of little piers, which will make nice fishing spots for both our villagers and for you guys, and I couldn't resist building some small fishing boats out on the lake. Next, I decided to make a windmill for the local farmer. The poor farmers in default Minecraft villages don't get a cool house to live in. They're just out tending to their crops all day. So I figured a quaint windmill would make a nice little home for our plains farmer. For the next section, I actually added a totally custom addition, a beekeeper and a little bee haven. Obviously, vanilla Minecraft doesn't have a beekeeper profession, but I thought this was such a cool way to include the game's bees in the village and give that aspect of the game a little revamp. With a large space left in front of the windmill, I of course had to add a crop farm. The villagers here are definitely hungry for some veg to go with their fish. I divided the farm up into 3 fields, one for wheat, one for potatoes, and another for carrots, also making a stream for our water source. With the farm finished, I worked on the layout for the rest of the village, creating some new, more natural looking paths, and quickly upgrading the village bell before gradually repositioning the remaining village buildings. Next up, I made some small tweaks to the librarian's house, and of course, I'm upgrading all of the interiors as I go as well. Throughout these transformations, I'll be showing you some of the interiors I've created, but I'm also going to be leaving a lot for you guys to discover for yourselves. Anyhow, I topped off the library with a small bell tower before working on the stonemason's house. To suit the profession, I used more stone in this design and repurposed one of the gables to shelter the entrance. I added some custom boulders, and out back I even created this miniature quarry, featuring this large, almost medieval looking pulverizer to help our stonemason villager break up all of that stone underground. For these little stall decorations, I whipped up an upgrade and created a nice little market square where the villagers can trade and sell goods. When you guys visit here, you can upgrade these market stalls by giving the villagers professions so they'll trade with you and replenish your supplies between your adventures across the map. And at the back of the market, I added a travelling wagon for the cleric. Clerics are religious leaders and would typically spawn in the village's church. But I thought this wagon would be a cool alternative for this village because the cleric tends to sell mysterious and magical items in game. So you might find these mysterious travelling merchants in wagons across the map. To wrap up our market square, I added a supply cart and benches before moving on to the church. This transformation is once again pretty true to the original game. But across the USW, we'll be transforming our village's place of worship with different religions and cultures in mind, taking inspiration from around the world to create our own fantasy buildings. This church-inspired building ended up bigger than I expected. Honestly, it looks a bit more like a cathedral, but this still felt like a tiny build compared to my creative projects. Finally, I revamped the remaining village houses for our nitwits and unemployed villagers to live in, and scattered them around the village before adding some finishing touches. I upgraded the little fountain design outside the church, placed some hay barrels, whipped up a lamppost design, transformed the flower pot design, and scattered around some shrubbery. And that's our plains biome upgraded. So let's take a look at the transformation.